fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren. We got Mr. Eric, the Dr. Shapiro, back in the house. He's here to make things right because things are going terrible without him, right? You know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I was listening to the show. I was like, this is an emergency.
Yeah. It's like, how is this still going? Like,
I had to do something.
Yeah, thank God. Breath of life.
How's everything going?
It's still delicious.
Oh, good. That's the way I like to hear.
It's sugar-free topping, and it still tastes good. You would never know it. No calories. What about you? You're the question, man. Like making movies and...
Yeah, I'm doing, I've had momentum in Hollywood. I've had a couple scripts I'm working on, so that's been very positive and exciting. And then, making independent movies here in Northern California. So very busy with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Well, and you brought special guest. She's a returning guest, and all sorts of things going on. So, and we're going to talk about her relaunch of the magazine, American Shades, and everything else going on. So we got Brittany Talissa King. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for letting me join again. It's nice hearing from you. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah, time goes, it goes really fast, especially when there's a lot of things going on in your life and in the world, right? And it's been pretty stressful lately, I think, but
yes.
What do I know? I'm hiding in Canada, so
you have it good, I guess.
Yeah, we've got the wall up.
Wait, so Brittany, you're relaunching American Shades. Tell us about that. It was launched at one point, and you said it was like a little dormant for a bit, and now you're coming back.
So it was Yellow Seeds magazine, which was launched in 2022. And then that was living as Yellow Seeds until last year in December. So I decided to relaunch the magazine as American Shade Magazine, which I think most people know me more by my YouTube and podcast, American Shade with Brittany King. And I decided just to synergize both platforms because they both are on the same mission to get at the bottom of the why of why people do what they do or think why they think and humanize us and our complexities as people. So I decided why not do it. And I'm really excited about it. And I know, Eric, that you wrote a piece recently, Why the Cinema Keeps Our Dreams Alive, which is still that's one of my... And it's cliche to say it. I'm not saying it because you're my friend, but I really love that piece. You really...
Oh, thank you so much.
Reframing how I look at, one, how dreams connect and inspire movies, but just how important movies are to the world, really. So thank you for contributing.
Oh, no, thank you for the opportunity. And I love the magazine. And I love how, as you said, it humanizes everyone. And it really goes into any conceivable topic. As long as that thread of tapping into and exploring our core humanity is there. Is that accurate?
Yes, really, it does. I think in the first piece, actually, that launched the magazine as American Shade, a woman named Taiwo, she wrote a piece called Why Does Nostalgia Hit So Hard When the Future Feels So Fragile? And she actually writes more about migration and things in her community locally, but she decided to take a dive at something that she was curious about, and she was just really just exploring what's going on, why people are getting rid of their iPhones and they're going to flip phones, or why people are rather go to coffee shops that don't have Wi-Fi and that they can't be on the internet, where they have to interface with people and talk. And she's Gen Z, so she thought that was really interesting. So yeah, a lot of these pieces, there's a through line in just of why we're doing things and why they're interesting. And there's a shift happening right now, I think, with people's curiosity, especially what's going on. I think people are trying to find some escapism into yesteryear where things seem so insane. And I think that...
Yeah. I find it heartening when I look into the fact that younger people are leaving social media more. I really like it, especially because they don't know, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, like they don't even really know what it was like to be around pre-internet. So they have nothing to compare it to, and yet still instinctually they're like, this, I don't mean to generalize because obviously social media is very saturating, but it seems to be a movement away from it, like back into more experiences, as you're saying.
Yeah, I would even say it's more so Gen Z than millennials. Millennials are, but Gen Z really is. And I think it's because Gen Z grew up with the digital age, and they grew up with Instagram and Facebook. So it's been like more staunch in their lived experience versus millennials have known the balance of life absent of social media, absent of all these apps. So I guess we can kind of balance it and self-censor ourselves to just be on the web all the time. But I think with Gen Z, they're just growing up being on the web, and now they kind of want to feel what it's like not to be there.
Right. No, understood. I also have a perception, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, again, this is really general, but Gen Z might look at millennials and they see all the sort of, hyper earnest, like partisan online fighting that generation came to emblemize. And, Gen Z might be like, oh, we don't want to be like that. Is that fair? I know you're a millennial, so I'm treading delicately.
Like they're more, you can go at us. Everyone else does. It's fine. Do you think Gen Z is like just trying to be more diplomatic, seeing our errors of our ways?
Well, maybe. I mean, I think if young Gen Z people, right, millennials would be their parents, wouldn't they? Or are they too close together?
I don't think that's wrong.
Okay, yeah, because I think it might be, because people always want to counter-program their parents generationally. So it just might be like looking at millennials, it's like, oh, I don't want to be like my mom who's fighting on Instagram.
Oh.
Like, I'm just saying that that's the sentiment that exists. I'm not saying it's widespread or pervasive for everyone, but I think, like, they see all the social justice millennial stuff that unfolded for a decade, and they know it didn't move the needle, and it led to a lot of division, and in many cases led a lot of people to the right. So I don't know. So I think common sense just says like maybe don't be so hyper online.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my bias.
Do you think that Gen Z is getting more like independent and like nonpartisan or?
I don't know. That's a good question in terms of independent. I think people in general, like adults in general, are becoming more independent for sure, and that's been a trend for a while. I think Gen Z, I don't know where they are, like in terms of the way I'm hearing your question is like individualism. I don't know what the mindset is, but I do know they're rejecting social media because they want to come back to the world, and they're making social media is becoming cool. Uncool now on Gen Z's watch, which is, I think, long overdue.
I feel like I guess it's where you're looking, because I feel like very staunched in politics and justice now. Like they're all, maybe they don't think they have to participate with that online, but I definitely see a lot of Gen Z. Like, have you seen that platform Jubilee on YouTube?
I'm aware of it, but I never looked at it.
I think it's mostly, so these conversations they have, like, and they're most likely going to be polarizing, but they had, who they have on recently? Well, they had Charlie Kirk on there, and he was surrounded by like 20 liberals, and they were Gen Z, and then I think Gen Z is definitely using TikTok to talk about things. But it's hard to say. It's like they're there, but they're also not.
Well, that's kind of how I see it. And also I want to add to what you're saying. Also, like, the social justice activism mindset that millennials brought to the forefront of culture, even if Gen Z is not as vocal or not participating in the same way with the same pitch of emotion, I think a lot of what millennials brought to the table has seeped into culture, and it's normal. So it's like become normal to talk about politics and race and gender. It's just completely ordinary and mainstream at this point.
Yeah.
So I think Gen Z is still in the conversation, but I think it seems to me like their emotional tenor within it is wildly different from millennials. But again, it's like, it seems like a drift. I mean, it's just like an undulation. It's not necessarily like one is A and the other is Z.
What generation are you?
I'm an Xer, so it's different. I'm more like I look at all this stuff, particularly with social media, which I've been as addicted to as anyone else. But I look at it with like horror and contempt. I'm like, oh God, this is like everything is ruined.
Like where you're seeing it, and especially because you have sons that are one step beneath Gen Z. They're Gen Alpha.
Yeah, which is a whole different thing. And believe me, they're super, I mean, to go the other way, I mean, of course they're alpha and they're still kids, so they're like, their ideas about the world have not matured, that generation. But they're like, I mean, they're on their tablets a couple hours a day. It's supposed to be 90 minutes. It usually drifts to like 2 hours. And then, oh, forget about like trying to get that time to stop. I mean, it's super addictive. It's like, it's their favorite thing they look forward to every day. And it's like, where is this going? Because they're like interacting with this incredibly addictive thing. So, yeah, so they're online in their own way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. There's this meme that went viral about. It was like it had these bicycles near a sandbox or like in the park, and they were like, Gen Z will never understand this photo. Like just like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
And just not being around their TV and just playing with the neighborhood kids and just being out and not coming home until like the light comes on. Like that was very much part of my household.
Mm-hmm.
Does your son's experience like going out and playing with friends, or is it more going inside and being on your tablets?
It's modified. You're definitely not in the free way. Like, cause I'm also a younger Xer. I was born in 78. Oh, yeah. So I'm like near the millennial starting point. So like, therefore I like understand the millennial mindset. Of course, these are all arbitrary divisions anyway, but like, yeah, with my kids, they do not have the like experience of playing on the streets and coming inside. It's alien to them. Like they might go to friends' houses or go to parties or things like that. But, yeah, no, be like free play and then I'll come back when you're done. Like that is seldom happen.
Yeah, but how I was going to say, how do they feel about what they see online? Like, because I find the older the generation from baby boomers, they can watch something on TikTok or Facebook in their particular thing, and 90% of them will believe it, even if it sounds totally crazy. And the younger you get, the less you believe it, I think. It seems like they don't take it as serious. So being your kids, being even the youngest, do you find that they see things on their tablets and go, oh my God, and come to you and ask?
Oh, not at all. That's a really good question. I would say not at all. I would say it's the opposite. They're more ironic about it. Like they think they're, you know, there's another thing with the very younger generation. Like they're kind of sardonic. And they like, you know, a lot of their meme culture is based in like nihilism and meaninglessness and jokes. Like, so it's like, even though they don't know the word nihilism. So like, yeah, it's more like they're probably skeptical of everything they see. The other weird thing about the way their heads work is that they, everything's integrated comfortably, which is kind of a relief for me because like, for a Gen Xer or a boomer to see the internet happen and then social media and YouTube and everything happen, it's like a shock to the nervous system. Like suddenly media became explosively more available, right? So suddenly you feel like you're like carrying 1,000 more plates. My kids don't have that experience at all. For them, everything is just an integrated, organized stream, and there's just a lot going on. So that's kind of a relief. That for, you know, there was no culture
I would
shock.
think they would be desensitized to just a lot of stuff. I mean, inundated with everything.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I was just gonna say, especially now, like I was watching this video, and now I'm like, this is so gonna become a thing. Even though you could tell, like this, so you know, people do reaction videos. So this guy created an AI reel of people fighting in a restaurant, and then he reacted to it. But it was an AI video he created that was fake, and everyone's calling him out on it. And it obviously now to the eye you can tell, but I know in a couple of years you're not gonna be able to tell AI from video because AI before was so like horrible. Like you can like this was not even. It looked like, you know, I don't know, stick figures. Now it's progressed, and now it's going to progress even more to where I think you're going to have to start tagging stuff to say this is AI generated or not. But it's just crazy that he created that to react because there's obviously a lucrative business in reaction videos. Plot, theme, whatever, and react to it and get paid for it. And so all this chaos is going to be within the zeitgeist of what actually is going on to where people can just create propaganda on their phone. I mean, they're going to be able to just generate fights at rallies that never happen or fights in the streets that never happen and then just divide us more. So when I saw that, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Well, I have to tell you, it was a turning point for me because, Alex Preddy, the guy that was shot, it was a week or two ago in Minneapolis. And then they released subsequent to the shooting video. There was a video from 11 days earlier that came out where he was in an altercation with ICE and he kicked out a taillight. Have you guys seen this?
I saw that.
Yeah. I felt like a mild shame of myself because I'm the last person to say, oh, that's AI. I never say that. I always think that's like a moron, reaction. But I saw that video and I really was like, wait a second. Is that AI? Because it's just like the way, first of all, it was silent. Then the way he kicked the taillight out, it broke really easily. And then he was wearing the same outfit he wore the day he died. But I want to be very clear. I want to be responsible. It was verified. I'm not trying to sow doubt. It was verified by his parents and by experts and bureaus that it was not AI. That was him, and there was no secret about it, and there were other witnesses to that occurrence. So, but it was, it shows, Brittany, the, slippery slope you're talking about, because that's the inverted end of what you're describing. It's like you start wondering on the front end, and then in that case I was wondering for partisan reasons because it clashed with the way I prefer to think about him. So that can be dangerous too.
I mean, thinking that was AI, I think would be the natural knee-jerk reaction because that video is so much aligned to the other side's narrative. It's like, oh, now this video comes out of him.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Of course you're going to think it's AI, but that is sad that you even thought it.
It is, yeah. And I want to ask you with American Shade, I know Al got us on the topic in terms of authenticity, but in terms of humanizing and exploring and trying to transcend partisan thinking and get back to, core humanity, is the aspect of differentiating falsehood from truth, is that a central theme of what you're doing?
I'm trying to do that. What I'm trying to aim at is what I see a lot definitely with articles that are more staunch in political beliefs. They have to, it seems like each article I see, whether it's liberal or a conservative piece, they have to use the other side as a punching bag. They just can't just say what they believe and stand on that. They have to use ad hominem attacks to support their claims. And actually a part of American Shade magazine, to pitch, part of the things that you cannot do is you cannot use ad hominem attacks against anyone and against any political side that's opposing yours. That you should be able to say what you need to say and get that point across to the public without demonizing somebody. With that said, I've had some writers in the past talk about how when they would give me their first draft, some of them would use phrases and they think that they're combing out all of those ad hominem attacks and things like that. They didn't realize how natural and how normal using language against the other side had become. They would just use woke to describe liberals or snowflakes to describe, just because it's just so natural, knee jerk. And then I would say I wouldn't use this word because if someone is on the liberal side, they're going to completely jump out of this piece, and you have a good piece, but you don't need this, or if it was vice versa. And then they said they would have to it was really a process for them to not do what they normally do, which is to use examples from the other side to show why their points are strong. That they had to really sit with why are their points strong by itself. Why do I believe this absent of what nefarious thing I think the liberals or conservatives are doing? So it's a process also for the writer as well. And for me, as I'm editing their piece, I'm learning a lot from someone I might not agree with, but I can see with one editing their piece and reading it, understanding, okay, I don't agree still, but at least I get to kind of see what points you're fleshing out, and you're fleshing it out on your own accord. You're fleshing out just on what you believe and nothing else. So it's a really good process for the writer and myself and other people that read the piece. I've had awesome glowing reviews, even from people from work that realize that I have this magazine have said they really enjoyed reading this piece and that they don't have to hold their hands over their eyes. They just know that they can just read it and they're not going to walk away feeling, cheapened or feeling a different, or feeling attacked, I guess you can say. So that's what I try to do. I mean, I'm not trying to use this magazine to change the entire world. All I'm trying to do is just trying to change or like have a reader consider the other side's perspective, not to even change their mind, but just to see, okay, at least I understand why you believe this. Because I think what's going on right now is like, we all are going to think differently, but we all also need to understand why we all think differently. Like, that's what creates nemesis, is when you just don't understand the other person. It's not that you disagree with the other person. You can be on the same page as someone and still they're your enemy. But I feel like once I understand somebody, one, I can sit with that, and then I can take that into other life experiences and other conversations where I'm like, okay, when this person says something, I'm not so shocked because I just had 5 conversations, or I just read a piece on why someone believes this. And now I can ask them, I read this. Is this what you believe? And it just gives a space for common ground. So that's really what I'm trying to do with this magazine.
In terms of, okay, so you just laid out a really beautiful approach to cultivating and encouraging critical thinking, which I think is outstanding. And you're stress testing your own ideas against the opposite ideas, or against your own biases or biased ways of communicating. So I want to stress test, in the spirit of critical thought, I want to stress test that entire model by asking you at a certain point, because I've been struggling with this myself lately, at a certain point, if we are so humanizing of one another, which I do think is a good idea, I think it's better than being mean and critical, out of hand. But if we are so level in terms of like, okay, we have to make sure we're humanizing Charlie Kirk, and we're going to make sure that we're humanizing Alex Preddy, and we're holding that all in balance, does that potentially lead to like a sort of fog of culture war syndrome where we don't know what the truth is still because everything's become so diffused that everybody's just even? Or is it a net good, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I totally think of it way differently. I don't think of it as humanizing means you have to tiptoe, or humanizing means you have to be nice, or humanizing.
Okay.
No, humanizing just means you understand. And then now I understand you. Now I can even maybe give, one could say constructive criticism, but really be critical on what you are saying versus on what you are. I think you I can still be hard on what you're saying, but instead not calling you names. I can still say your ideas, I think, are racist, but maybe you're not. You're ignorant. Like, there's things that you can still do. I think humanizing helps parse things out to where you really get to the truth. All because there's divisions. We don't know why we're all divided. We think we do. We see liberals and then we see conservatives, and now we're seeing there's infighting on both sides. So I think humanizing people is a way to strip off all of these labels of whatever you are, your gender, your race, your whatever. And not to say you strip it off and you don't consider those. I think you strip it off and you don't let those blind you to trying to see what this person's saying.
Okay, so I'm gonna narrow this down to one example and get your commentary on it.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you in a very specific way. Okay, so in the United States, and Al's not here, mercifully for him. So in the United States, so we are seeing a government that, at least by a credible metric of scholarly interpretation, is acting fascist.
Mm-hmm.
You can at least credibly interpret it that way, even if one is not moved to declare it. Is that a fair starting point? That's not my question yet, but is that fair enough?
You can say that, yeah.
Okay. So here we have, something so extreme in the form of fascism, which is such an alarm going off that, to an extent, a partisan view that's educated and steeped in an understanding of what it means to be right-wing and the dangers of drifting too far to the right is valuable, right? And of course that is a very biased way for me to put it, but that's the way I see it, right? So my question to you is the way out of that, like we're almost in like in everybody cried wolf scenario. Like it's like kind of like with what Al was saying with AI, like not knowing who to trust or what to believe. That's now seeped into every form of political argument and every form of argument at every level. Like meaning and language and thought constructs themselves are all controversial and all divisive and all unstable at this point. So therefore, it's like I could point and say fascism, and I could say here's historical precedent, here are facts, and here's an argument, but it doesn't matter because there's another half of the population that's so primed, geared, and counter-educated to not let it in and not do anything about it and not care and root for the people I see as the fascists, right? So all this is going on. My question to you is humanizing and exploring the authentic humanity of people as people, is that a way to heal that syndrome? Is that a way, I know you're not saying you're trying to save the world, but is that one way out, in your opinion?
Good question. Well, first, I mean, I think you're getting at this. People, we know it. We can define fascism. We can look it up, but what is it? People are using fascist for everything and not for what is actually fascist, which actually overshadows fascism. So there's a lot of things going on. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone wrote a piece on fascism, just what they thought from, let's just say, a left side and a right side, they are not going to say the same thing. But if they did that from their point of view, and someone on the left read what the right thought, and someone on the right read what the left thought, they would realize we are not even arguing the same thing. Like, what you think is not even what I think fascism is, and vice versa. So that one step of just getting out what you think and the other person just reading what you think is what I mean humanizing someone is. Or just understanding. So I use those interchangeably. Perhaps they're not the same thing, but understanding what someone thinks. Then when you understand what someone thinks, then criticize, then critique. It's not to say, we're going to humanize us so much to where we're just like in, utopia and everything's fine. It's to say, what are we even doing? Like, I know you and I, we have friends on all spectrums of the political aisles. I have conversations with a lot of friends, and I'm like, if you talk to Timmy and Timmy talked to Sally, you guys would realize you guys are not fighting in the same war, though you are like having the guns pointed at each other. You're just not, it's not there. So that's the first step. And with that, actually, an example that I did when that word Latinx was really big a few years ago, which it still is, but just when everyone was talking about it, when it was really polarizing, I had one of my friends that is on the progressive side, and she's a journalist in New York, and she is a proponent for Latinx. And then I had another friend, and he's independent, and he is more for just using Latino, Latina, and that's it. And they're very actually passionate about it. And they both have written their own articles and their own time periods on these words. So when I realized that, I said, would you both be willing to come on? This is when American Shade was Yellow Seeds, but these essays are living on American Shade magazine. So if you want to check it out, you can. But so I had my friend write why Latinx is important to her. And my other friend, he wrote why Latino and Latina is important to him. And then after that, they exchanged these essays and they read it. Then they did another essay where they wrote to that person on what they thought about what they said about the word, and then just follow up more contextualizing their points. Both did that. Then the third step was them having a Zoom talk, and it was about I would say close to 2 hours. They talked about just the first step of just reading what each other thought about the words and why they felt so passionately about it. Then the essays talking about reading each other's words and the follow-ups, and then now they're facing face to face. They were able to have that talk, and I know they both shared this with me. They were able to get there because they're normally the ones that would. And my other friend that's progressive is like, yeah, I was definitely the ones that would shut down anyone that's in my community saying we shouldn't use Latinx. And I didn't want to hear them out. But because she read what he said, and because she knew he read what she said, and they did these steps, by the time they talked, she was so disarmed. She was ready just to really get more down to their historical connections, to what these words mean, to their family backgrounds, versus even coming in it with wanting to win anything. Because at that point, she realized, okay, we're never going to agree, but I'm just so curious on why you feel so strong. And that's how he felt too. So did they both change their mind? No. They still use the words they use. They still feel very, very strong. But they also now understand why the other side feels strong. That's all I'm saying. It's not to say we're going to change, we're all going to be on one side of the aisle, or we're all going to be holding hands. It's to say, now that I understand you, that'll help me understand someone else.
That's really good. That's a wonderful, that's like critical thinking embodied. I mean, that's the name of the game. It's all about like antithesis and synthesis. And in that case, it was two different people, and you really went to a lot of lengths to get the conversation going. I want to go to the other end of it, which is highlighting something you said a little while ago. You also highlighted that even if people, I'm paraphrasing, but you were going near the concept of even if people fundamentally agree, they might still be at odds with each other, like the infighting that goes on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I found this because I'm Jewish. In the wake of October 7th in Israel, and then, in terms of pro-Palestine activism, with my friends on the left, I'm pretty much aligned to them. If anything, I might be fundamentally farther to the left and more pro-Palestine than them. But I got in hot water with 3 different people, actually, because I was insufficiently outraged. Mm-hmm. And that's my way of summarizing it with retrospect. It was almost like, because I was the nearest available Jewish person, they needed to test me to see if I was sufficiently outraged. And with me, it's different because I've lived with the issue my whole life, so it's not a surprise or a revelation to me what's going on over there.
Yeah.
This is something that was talked about as a kid when I was in Hebrew school, right? So I couldn't bring the same amount of emotional energy at that point in history because, I was steeped in it.
Yeah.
So, that was an unfortunate case of fundamentally agreeing, but they couldn't hear my agreement for reasons of identity and difference in temperament. So what do you, and you don't have to go near that hot button issue, even though I know you have no problem going near hot button issues. But what do you do with that? Like when it's like, oh, we're 1% apart from each other. Now I hate you because you're not crying the same amount I am.
Oh, I mean, that's been the Black experience and your experience as well. But the Black American experience since we were emancipated. The conservative Blacks, the liberal Blacks were Black. And then also there's a certain type of Black that's accepted, and there's a certain type of Black that's exiled. I did this in my piece I did for Tablet Magazine, where I talked about, I used Du Bois and I used Booker T. Washington to talk about like the fathers, I guess you can call the godfathers that created, unbeknownst to them that they would create this centuries later, of the conservative thought, Booker T. Washington and Du Bois, which I don't think it was more conservative and liberal in a political sense. I think it was just more like a mindset. And then that trickled down, and I used like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and then that trickled down, and then I used Ta-Nehisi Coates and Coleman Hughes because they were debating at Capitol Hill on whether or not reparations should be mandated or not. I think that was 2019. And so I used all these men to just talk about kind of what you're talking about, which is this type of the identity that can either create community that is like no other, that bonds you, that you feel empowered by, or if you say the wrong thing or you trip up, that same community will, and it's hard to say push you out without it sounding the way it sounds. But I would say, yes, might push you out or exile you because they feel like we can't have anyone inside threatening the whole. We have enough threats coming at us. We can't have anyone inside doing it. So by any means necessary, you must go or change your mind. I think now with the Black American community, and I'm making a specific distinction between Black American and just Black, because I have many of friends. I have Black friends. Yeah. I have a lot of Black immigrant friends, family. Being Black race is what we have in common, but being Black American is my ethnicity. Like a Kenyan was their ethnicity. Like someone from Uganda, that's their ethnicity. But Black American is very distinct and individualized to this country because we were orphaned, and now we had to create a heritage or tradition for ourselves because we were just Black here. So there is a lot of historical context around why we think the way we think, why we celebrate the way we celebrate, why we uplift each other, why even Black History Month is like a month where it's like all of us are just coming around like it's a big old cookout, and we're just posting all the things, the videos, we're sharing like the history. It's just, even though we have 28, 29 days of it, it's something that I can't really describe what it means to see things constantly every month that I just never knew. And then just hearing point of views from different Black experiences I never knew. But with the same closeness we have, there are people that actually fundamentally do want to destroy us from the inside. I mean, there's people that really are Black and that think we are a problem and want to destruct us and want to get privilege by doing that and showing people that aren't Black, look what I'm doing to my people. Well, can you give me something? That is a thing. But what trips us up is we do say we're not a monolith, and we're not. But I think what's happening now is we are expanding that out. I don't think we're so like only conservative, only liberal. I think we're realizing like, no, there's a nuance here. There's a lot of us that are independent. There's a lot of us actually that realize we're not really going to go for voting maybe Democrat or be a part of the Democrat Party. We're so progressive, we're so left leaning, but now we're realizing, analyzing things, we might not really be for that party, or we're going to criticize it more, or just things like that. So I hope I answered your question. I'm going on a tangent.
Oh yeah, no, I think
The experience you're saying, even though we don't have the same experience.
Yeah, no, you sort of like answered it from the inside, like yeah, in terms of the way these little hairline differences work and how they can become more than they should, or more than is functionally necessary to be in community with people.
Yes.
And I particularly like where you led that, because I do think the healthiest integration, and this goes back to what I was saying about my kids in terms of they're mentally able to synthesize the social media environment with YouTube and things like that more because they're used to it and grew up with it. I think like the healthiest way is for us all to understand, and this sounds very idealistic, but like eventually we all have to understand now that we're all crowded together in digital spaces, like we all are there, we're really different from each other. I mean, we're a pluralistic species.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable. It's like you can never get away from it. And like arguing with it, debating with it, butting heads with it. I mean, it can be interesting to be argumentative. It can be sporting, and to say your piece and say your truth is healthy, but to not be at peace until everybody agrees with you is a losing game.
Yes. And I'm going to ask a question. I hope it's not invasive, because your wife is Black American.
Yeah.
How are you having conversations with your sons that are mixed, that are,
yeah,
they're Black American? They obviously look more, you can tell they're Black. Are they asking you questions? Because now I feel like when I was little, the only interactions I had with that was in real time, was in school, was at the grocery store. It wasn't online. There was no online. TV was very much, kept things very polished, or the news I would see, but I wouldn't understand, or I'd be asleep because it was at 9 p.m. or whatever. But now your sons, they see everything. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
So are they coming to you like, dude, what's going on? Like, I have questions about this or that, or are they kind of still just kids and they're just,
Yeah, I would say it leans more toward the former. Like it's not the sort of thing where they'll be like, hey, what's going on? Please explain it. They're definitely conscious of matters of identity, even though they wouldn't use those words. I mean, it's inevitable. So in our household, so my wife is, black and Asian. So she's,
Okay.
half Filipino, right? So then, her mom lives with us, right? So she's Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mom's boyfriend has lived with us for 8 years. So he's Mexican. He's Spanish.
Oh, wow.
Right? So we like represent
You have the
almost
United
like everything on
Nations
Earth.
at your home.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. I'm going to use that. Yeah, so and then pretty much like aside from like Middle Eastern, but I'm also like I'm an Israelite, so I like sort of kind of holding up the Middle East end of things. But yeah, so we're like so they're thoroughly steeped in that like it's unmissable to them because my kids are triracial, and my younger child skin is darker, right? So my older child looks like a white kid.
Oh.
And and so each of them are what are they? They're 25%. Well, they're around 25% black because Rhoda has a little white in her going back to her grandparents. She had a white grandmother, right? So she's like a mixture of three. So my kids are technically a mixture of four if you don't count Jews as white, but we'll be here forever if I keep breaking it down. But my younger kid, I remember this was a really interesting moment. Like when with parenting, I'm a big believer of not being pedantic or hyperverbal because I really don't think kids learn that way. Like I think they learn more. This is just me. Like I know some people are just very verbal with their kids and they try and instill lessons. Like I just was not raised that way. I was raised by example.
Right.
Right. So I think each of my parents in my whole upbringing, each told me one thing, one sentence, and I can remember the moment. It's but otherwise it was just looking at how they were. Right. So, despite that, I remember when my younger child, who's brown, I remember he was self-conscious about it when he was little, and he was wondering how it happened, and he's comparing himself to his brother, and then we thought it was very fascinating that he took the self-consciousness upon himself, because there's nothing within the home that would make it unsafe or anything, you know what I mean? But he felt he was an outlier, when he was out of the house, right? So I looked up online. I was I vaguely remembered somewhere. I was like, wait, aren't most people on the planet brown? I vaguely, and then it's true. Most people are brown. So I looked it up and I showed it to him, and he was so happy. He was like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, most people on the planet are brown. And then that was it. And then he was 4, and he stopped worrying about it. And I remember a couple years later, I never brought it up again, right?
Yeah.
A couple years later, he was self-conscious or something, and I said, is it your skin? And he said, no. He said, most people on Earth are brown. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that ball actually went through the hoop. That meant enough to him to put that to bed for him.
Wow.
So, but that's a very specific example to answer the whole question. But they are aware, and it's interesting. I also would go, without going into all of it, I would go as far as to say that when there's an admixture, it is its own experience, as you were kind of saying with the different kinds of black experience. And even being a Jew, my fellow Jews will insist that I'm not white. And I'll be like, what are you talking about? I thought I was a white guy. What's going on now? It's crazy. You don't know where to begin.
Why would they say you're not white?
Well, a lot of Jews, ethnically identify, as Jews. And they don't want, they're sort of, it's what is it called? They call it Schrodinger's whiteness. It just depends because if you look at us from the leftist or progressive view, we obviously in America have benefited from white privilege, so there's no question about that, right? But then if you look at us from the far right view, we're we're interlopers, poisoning the pure white Aryan race, right? So we're never comfortably white. We're either too white on the left or we're not white on the right. So I don't think Jews that don't identify as white are aligning with the right point of view. They're just saying it's unsettled, so they're just Jews. So
it matters where you are.
I'm not sure. I think it matters where you are in your head. Because it's just I guess every Jew decides. Yeah. But I always just walked around thinking, yeah, I'm a white guy. I'm like
You're a white guy.
Harrison Ford, just like, yeah, it's obvious. Like, I never thought there was any question until these conversations flared up later in my life.
Yeah, I just looked at race as literal, just the most like superficial part of someone.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because I asked ChatGPT a few months ago. I was like, give me a one-word answer. Don't extrapolate. It's just one word. Are American Jews white? And then it like cooked and cooked and cooked. I saw 3 dots. I'm in suspense, and it said no. I was like, oh my God. I'm really out of touch. Yeah, because we don't.
Well, if
yeah,
that says it, I guess.
Essay right there. Yeah.
Or,
right, exactly. Yeah, if AI said it.
AI said it.
Yeah. But it is, what you're doing is very valuable because your publication provokes these conversations, and even your presence and your way of thinking provokes it. So it's like, it's a breath of fresh air to even think or communicate this.
Well, thank you for that. I just feel like I've just in my life have been misunderstood for a lot of different reasons, whether being black, being a woman, or someone that even struggled with sobriety. I was definitely labeled something. People thought they knew who I was because I was struggling with alcoholism, and that was a little piece of who I am, even though when you saw me, you were very well that I was not well. But I was like, there was so much more to me, and people just tossed me aside because they thought that, versus when people got to know me, that's when I was able to actually get help because they saw my humanity and they saw I was a person, and then that wanted me to fight for my life. But I credit my sobriety. I'll be 12 years sober, February 16th. I got sober February 16th, 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, after I rededicated my life to Jesus Christ, and I was able to just completely surrender that. And something that you said to your son, I don't know why, it kind of just knocked me, like it felt somewhat similar when you said to your son, like, well, most people in the world are mixed, and actually, like, I think there's a statistic that most people in America will be mixed in, I don't know what year, but they said.
Oh, the 2040s, I think.
Yeah. And something about him just being able to get that in his mind, no matter what someone says or what he goes through, he just knows, like, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm a part of this world. I'm part of the fabric. And I feel like when I was going through certain struggles, even when the world would say, but you're this and this and this, I'm like, but I'm okay. People have survived. People have seen me. Like, I don't know why that kind of aligned with me.
That's really nice. Yeah, I'm happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was the only resonant thing I've ever said. It helped him and then it helped you.
Yes.
Yeah, but Brittany, I wanted to ask you before we go, I want to ask you, I know this is a big question, but what do you think, in addition to the formative experiences you talked about from a decade plus ago with overcoming alcoholism, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
What do you think fundamentally drives you in this direction toward humanizing, critical thinking, intellectual exploration? Like, were you influenced by a parent, or was it the culture of your family around the dinner table? Like, where do you think it comes from?
It was an accumulation of all that. I actually wrote a piece last year on Martin Luther King, and it was a piece on the day that Martin Luther King was. It was this. I'm botching my own headline, but basically, this woman during his the first years of him leading the civil rights movement, after his first book was published, he was at a book signing, and so many people coming at him, photographers, journalists, all that. So there's chaos. And all of a sudden, he said he felt like the sharp pain in his chest, and it was a knife, and a woman stabbed him. And he went to the hospital, and the doctor said, if you would have sneezed, you would have died. You would have died. And this is
like an
story a lot of people don't know, but he talked about, he realized this woman was mentally ill, and instead of the journalists and everyone coming after her, he met her with grace and said, he gave his comments and left it. He didn't demonize her. He said, I'm going to actually pray for her because she's going through something that I don't even understand, and all this different things. But at the tail end of this piece, I just I just talked about the grace he gave that woman, and then the grace that we could give each other. And the reason why I said I so believe in grace and mercy is because of the grace and mercy that's been on my life through my faith, through people that believed in me and didn't abandon me, and that I believe that people ultimately can be redeemed. That's why I do this. I think no one, if I can be redeemed, and that the fact that when I tell people now that I struggle with alcohol, they just don't believe it, versus the people that knew I struggled with alcohol can't believe of this life I'm living now. They really thought I was going to die. Like, they were like, she's dead. But thankfully I'm not. So I believe anything can change. I believe anyone can be redeemed. MLK believed that. That's why he fought so hard for this country. If he didn't believe America could change, he wouldn't fight. And this was someone that was fighting like supremacy in a way that this generation will never understand. And he still was fighting because he believed America could change, because he was saying, if we can come out of shackles, we surely can get legislation to see us as American, even though we are, and even though I am your peer, and even though I am equal, we can at least have the laws reflect that. And like now, I'm like, okay, my history has told me, especially the Black American history has told me, we have the incredible odds in this country that I'm like, it's gonna be hard. Like, the civil rights movement was hard. Harriet Tubman having to do a decade of being underground and freeing enslaved people were hard. Right now will be hard to understand and talk to people that hate you. But the luxury that we have, that we at least have rights to do that, even though luxury might not be the right word, because, people are still, the violence and all that. But we have rights, we have laws, we have this stuff that we don't have. People should march and they should protest if they feel that it's needed in that moment. But civil rights movement, they had to do that. That's the only means that they had. The Underground Railroad, they had to go underground. That's all they could do. Now we have so many different things where we can tweet a governor, we can tweet the president, and we can call people out on social media. We don't have to leave our homes. If we have all this access, and you're telling me you can't sit down with someone and try to understand them, get out, miss me with that. That's why I created this platform, because I'm trying to, they say be the change you want to see. I'm trying to do that, even if 4 people read this magazine, even if only 3 more people contribute. At least I know people that are reading it, even if it's 2, I don't care. But at least when those 2 people read it, people do reach out to me and say that it's helped them. So I'm going to keep doing this. So I believe ultimately people, no matter who you are, can be redeemed. I see it happen too many times in my life and in history. So I just want to be a part of that.
I love it. Oh, that's wonderful.
Get to work on that.
Yes.
There's a lot of people here. I can send you a list.
Oh, yeah. I will put them there, yeah.
And start at the top there, and get right down.
Yeah.
My God. Every time I turn on TikTok, I need to go, oh my God.
I know.
It's terrible.
It's bad.
It's really brutal. Well, listen, so where do people find you, the magazine, and anything about you, or if they want to submit and do all that stuff? Talk about your connections to the world.
So you can see American Shade Magazine on AmericanShadeMagazine.com. You can see a lot of the things I post is on Instagram, so American Shade-magazine, and then my own Instagram, b.talissa. And yeah, that's really the socials I use. I have Twitter, King Talissa, if you want. I don't post that often on Twitter because I really don't like to visit that place often. So I just try to stay away. Sometimes I post things and I just quickly get out of that app. But yeah, just American Shade Magazine. If you want to pitch something, all the info is there, and I can't wait to read what you have to say.
Great. We'll put all that up on our website too. And yeah, I don't like X either because, Eric's on there and he's just, wow.
That's why my own X is there. Oh, man.
Yeah. He's just a wild man, I'll tell you.
Yeah. It would be better without me.
Yeah. It's just, I tell you, gives me a stroke every day. Well, we appreciate you. And again, thanks very much. And it's Brittany King. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.